2020, the last year was a record for the US IPO market and a pivotal year for the fintech companies. Many fintech companies like Lemonade and Root Insurance listed last year, and recently, the Affirm, another fintech company, listed on January 13, 2021 and brought the double jackpot. Now, the Chime and the Robinhood are the two prominent fintech companies that are expected to list in 2021. Today, let's dig into the Chime. Last year was a warm wind for fintech. While the year 2020 hit many businesses like a hurricane, some of the most popular personal financial apps and payment companies thrived. Our today's hero Chime, the digital banking startup aimed at big banks, is booming. And it doesn't have a single physical bank branch. So CNN featured that this startup is taking on big banks, and it's working. The Chime, which provides banking service via a smartphone application, has more than tripled its transaction volume and revenue in 2020. The company says it's signing up hundreds of thousands of new customers each month, and some of them are ditching big banks for Chime. While big banks such as Wells Fargo, Bank of America has lost tens of billions of dollars in market value during the same period, Chime's price tag is going parabolic. Chime soared in 2020 by focusing sharply on low to middle customers and predicting their needs better than any other neobanks. In March 2020, Chime was valued at $6 billion. In April, it gave more than 500,000 customers an advance on their stimulus checks, lending to its best day ever for new user signups. 2 months later, it launched a secured credit card which already has more than 1 million users. And in just 18 months, Chime's private market valuation is spiked by staggered 1,015% to $14.5 billion. That makes Chime more valuable than publicly traded companies, and even overtaken Robinhood, the red-hot trading application, and become the most and the number one valuable fintech startups in the USA. We've gone through explosive growth. Chime's co-founder and the CEO Chris Brett told CNN Business, "We are a company that is in the right place at the right time because so many Americans are feeling anxious about their money." A lot of banks and fintech startups offer a full slate of account options with various bells and whistles that can make it hard to determine the best fit for your needs. Among those diverse fintech startups, how could they chime in their customers and lock into their service? And mostly, about 90% of the Chime users are in the 20s to the early 30s, so-called the MZ generations. How could Chime attract the most promising generations? Then let's figure it out. Chime. The US number one fintech company with over 9 million accounts and a valuation of $14.5 billion. This alternative bank is more than living up to the challenger bank designation. This is the story of Chime. This technology company is appending traditional banking. So popular have Chime's early paycheck, early stimulus payments, and no overdraft fee features been during 2020 that its account has grown at a prodigious rate. Chime, which already had been around 6.5 million accounts at January 2020, saw a surge during the last year and was closing to the 10 million accounts by year-end. Besides, the Chime, which prefers to call itself a technology firm offering a banking service rather than the challenger bank, has more than tripled its transaction volume and revenue in 2020. CEO Chris Brett said that conventional thinking was that you couldn't make a free banking account business work, but we turned that notion upside down. Key components of the Chime strategy. There's a tendency to think of the challenger banks and even direct banks as all about slick mobile apps, free or low-fee products, and at times high rates. Chime missed the first two criteria, but even when it was economically feasible to offer the high rates, the company never played that card. Launched in mid-2014 by Brett and co-founder Ryan King, Chime did for the time use high rewards as marketing tool, but realized quickly that that wasn't the best approach. As you dig deeper into the Chime strategy, one notable thing emerges. Essentially, the disruptor in one regard is following classic banking strategy, but with a few key differences. In a nutshell, these are the major points of the Chime strategy. Build a modern tech stack. Provide great mobile user experience. Become consumers' choice for their primary checking account. Offer no-fee service enabled by low-cost technology and no branches. Generate revenue from the interchange. And here's the biggest question arise. Many challenger banks has a similar strategy, so why has the Chime been so successful? During a various media briefing, Chris Brett has provided some illuminating details. Chris Brett, who gained banking and payment expertise working for Visa and Green Dot, felt that traditional banking wasn't serving the customer well, especially the people in a huge middle-income market. Any reasonable people that look at the customer financial service can tell that there's got to be better, more consumer-friendly ways. Brett recounted during the Bank on It podcast. It's a huge opportunity to disrupt a very big category. Chime does this with a mobile-first banking experience including free checking, saving, and a traditional Visa debit card. Basic banking service in America should be free, Brett told. The bank shouldn't pay you and an institution to hold your money. They should pay you and provide services that are helpful and aligned with your best interest. Chime's customers typically are the late 20s and early 30s, so-called the MZ generations, according to Brett. We tend to attract customers predisposed to pay with a debit card, the CEO said. We are not out there trying to get someone with a platinum Amex card to switch over to the Chime. Our typical customers are what I'd call middle-income customers. We are certainly not targeting the unbanked, also not the 1%, but everyone in between, a huge portion of America. Then let's read out the Chime itself and its specialties. At first, Chime PAYDAY. Get your paycheck up to 2 days earlier. In America, there are lots of people who rely on their living on their monthly paycheck. 70% of Americans has experience of late payment on their credit card because of the late income, and 63% of people have suffered from the late paycheck. So they made Chime PAYDAY and let their customers get their paycheck 2 days earlier and let them build their financial life secured. Traditional banks transfer the employee's paycheck on the exact day of their payday, even if they got the money from the company earlier. Chime breaks this precedent followed by their core values. So lots of employees ask their company to give their paycheck via Chime, and following that trend, lots of companies start to designate the Chime as their paycheck transaction bank. And now, more than 3,000 companies including GitHub, Robinhood are using the Chime. And here's one more huge factor of Chime's giant growth last year. Especially, Chime made a huge splash when it gave the users access to its $1,200 stimulus check 5 days earlier. In total, Chime gave members early access to the $1.5 billion in government stimulus payment. That created a huge buzz and drove some of the biggest enrollment days in the history of our company, Brett said. We have a high degree of empathy for challenges everyday Americans are going through. One of our core values is to be human and to understand the needs of our customers. This early access to government stimulus check proved their capability and their corporate virtue. That guaranteed them the customer loyalty and Chime in astronomical numbers of customers directly. The second, fee-free. Chime has the two biggest flow of the service on a fee-free category. One is the fee-free overdraft and the no hidden fees. Surprisingly, large portions of the US bank fees are taken by the overdraft fees. If the customer pay beyond their account balance using either credit or debit card, bank charges them the overdraft fees. On average, Americans pay around $250 annually on this overdraft fees, but Chime does not pay the customer this fee. They spot the customers up to $100 on debit card purchase with no overdraft fees. If you keep your account's average balance of more than $500 for 3 months, you can get this service. And say goodbye to the hidden fees when you bank through Chime. No overdraft fees. no minimum balance fees, no monthly fees, no foreign transaction fees. The third, automatic saving. Thanks to Chime's built-in automatic saving makes saving money much easier, so that helps you to get your goals faster. You can save money every time you make a purchase or pay a bill with your Chime card. Their Save and You Spend service automatically round up the transactions to the nearest dollar and transfer the roundups from the spending card to the saving account. The more you use your Chime card, the more you build your savings. Funny features. And thanks to the online banking system, you can check your balance sheet and compare your income and spend by easily drawing graphs. And they analyze your spending habit automatically and guide you to build a better financial base. If the Chime thinks you spend too much money on riding on the taxi, the application makes saving on each of the time you ride on the taxi. And all of the features are customized by yourself by shopping, coffee on every part of your spending habits. And if you set spending limits on each of the categories like shopping, dining, or whatever you want, Chime helps you to stop spending on that section by warning signs. The last, user-friendly. Chime thought the most important features of the Fintech was the easiest and fastest application. That is the basic and the most important. Before launching the application to the market, they tested 216 versions of user interface for guaranteeing the best user experience. They do not even use the hard financial words and make every word straightforward and intuitive like early paycheck, automatic saving. Thanks to Chime's user-friendly, it takes less than 2 minutes to apply for an account. How far Chime will go? Digital banking has gaining traction across the world. In the UK, digital banking startup Monzo is giving traditional bank a run for their money. In the insurance sector also, startup financial companies have better and innovative offerings that are catching customers' attention as well as the wallet share. While the practice of forwarding customers' money before payday is certainly unique in the traditional banking sector, small loans, which their early deposit system can be compared to, are nothing new. And all Chime's success comes from its mobile-friendly approach to banking that appeals cash-strapped millennials. If they want to truly create a new kind of bank, they still have work to do. Since Chime hasn't yet filed for the IPO, we don't know the IPO price and the stock ticker. However, at the last funding round in 2020, the company was valued at $14.5 billion. Based on the valuation, Chime became the most valuable US fintech startup ahead of the Robinhood. That high valuation is reasonable. Here's the one thing that we can sure about. Chime is among the best bets of growing popularity of new age fintech companies. Thank you so much for watching my video, and please subscribe to my channel and show your thumbs up. And I will hop around the world and bring lots of thousands of funny stories to you. Let's hop around together. Thank you and see you again.